Hello, everyone. I'm Solomon Wilcots, and welcome to the Believe in Bengal podcast presented by FanDuel. I come on today just days before we're going to play in Super Bowl 60. But today, I want to start by talking about something and someone who's dominated the news, and that is Coach Bill Belichick, who I am a great admirer of. I love the history of this league, and I know that Coach Belichick is a true historian of this league. He grew up worshiping at the altar of the great Paul Brown, who is truly one of the founding fathers of this league. Our league has been playing football for 106 seasons. Bill Belichick has been part of teams that have won 8 Super Bowls. He's been a head coach of a Patriots team that won 6 Super Bowls under his leadership. And he is definitely deserving of a place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, alongside some of the great coaches that the game has ever seen, guys like Paul Brown. But I will say this, the hue and cry of everyone who is complaining that he didn't go in on the first ballot, I'm sorry, I can't shed a tear for Coach Belichick, who his 333 wins are second only to the 347 wins had by the great Don Shula. And while he is deserving to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I'm not emotional enough. And I am not a whiner. I don't complain when things don't go my way or when I don't get what I want. So why would I complain or whine or beg and moan like I'm seeing across the landscape of media on some of the biggest shows that cover our sport? People lamenting and whining. Oh, Bill Belichick didn't get in on the first ballot. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Why wouldn't they put him in on the first? Are you kidding me? You're gonna sit and whine? Grown men are whining and complaining because he didn't go in on the first ballot. Like there's some birthright that comes with that. Like there is some rubber stamp that comes with it. I don't care how many games you won as a coach. You can't do it without Tom Brady. You can't do it without some of those great players you had. You did not accomplish this on your own. You needed help from other people. And by the way, just like I read all those things on his resume, I already told you he's one of the great coaches the game has ever seen. And I truly believe that. I already told you how many games he's won, how many championships he's won. But if we're going to talk about those things that are clearly on his resume, you know what else is on his resume? Cheating. Why can't we talk about everything that Bill Belichick is and everything that he did? I'm going to sit and tell you, because I covered this league for over 25 years. I called a lot of Patriots games. I've been in production meetings with Coach Belichick. I've been in production meetings with Tom Brady, where I'm leading the meeting, and I am an astute note taker. See that? I write notes. I don't just do things off the cuff. That's right. Well noted. Well, that's my handwriting. That's right. That's it, because that's what we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. I take notes. Look at this. Even for our show, that's my rundown. These are topic points. I write it all down. And in my meetings with Patriots players, well before Spygate or Deflategate, I remember talking with Patriots players. And I remember asking them questions about the game. And you know what players have said to me? Well, Coach Belichick has told us, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's right. If you ever heard that phrase, I'm telling you, the first time I ever heard it was from his players saying what he has said to them. Now, so it's on the resume of Bill Belichick that he did cheat. In fact, this league caught him cheating. They fined him $250,000. They fined the team $500,000, and they docked the Patriots 1 first-round pick. You think they did that because he wasn't cheating? You think they did that because they maybe cheated? They thought he was cheating, didn't quite know? No, they caught him cheating and they fined him. He paid his price. And so the rest of the world, we all moved on. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you expect me to extol the virtues of one Bill Belichick, then you got to be able to allow me to tell the whole story. Because anything less than the entire story is apocryphal. It's not true. If I'm just we're talking about going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're not talking about eulogizing a man. If we were speaking and giving his eulogy upon someone's departure from this earth, then we only would extol the good and wonderful virtues that they bestowed upon the people on this fine earth of ours. But we're not doing that. We're talking about getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What did you do for the game? Did you leave the game better than you found it? And in what ways did you either hurt it or did you help it? And if you did both, then that's what Hall of Fame voters have to be able to discuss. We're not talking about things that happen in someone's personal life, because those things I don't think have any business being discussed. It's only about the game. It's only about your contributions to the game. And I can tell you that I've talked to many general managers, many head coaches around this league. If you were doing a game in Gillette Stadium, all of a sudden your headset's going out. All of a sudden you have static in your headset, which ultimately doesn't prove it, but it lends to the belief that there's some interference in the headset, that your communications in that headset is being not only interrupted, but potentially recorded and being listened to by other people. It's kind of like if you spoke on your phone and you started to hear interference on your home telephone, getting an interruption on your line, that's because there's interference. Someone else is listening in on your line. If you didn't know that, then I'm just here to tell you. Did you know that he has naval people who attended the Naval Academy on his payroll? There's a guy by the name of Ernie Adams. You can look it up. I'll tell you about that later. But yeah, they were caught videotaping. They were caught stealing signs and signals. I don't want to go too deeply into this because at the end of the day, I do believe he is a Hall of Fame coach. I think he's deserving to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I don't get where just because you bring up these infractions on Coach Belichick that now I'm the bad guy. I'm the guy who everyone's coming after, or the voters or someone everybody's coming after because they dare echo the truth about someone who they're voting on, who's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think it's okay to hold people accountable. But if he takes up a spot that could have gone to Kenny Anderson, I got a problem with that. That's right. Do you know that the voters had to vote for Bill Belichick, L.C. Greenwood, Roger Craig, Kenny Anderson, Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots? Those 5 people are eligible for only 3 spots. So guess what, people? If you put Bob Kraft, he already is going to get his votes. He's the owner of the Patriots. And you put Bill Belichick in this year, instead of waiting another year, then that means only one of the remaining 3 candidates, Roger Craig, L.C. Greenwood, Kenny Anderson, get in. If they don't get in this year, if Kenny Anderson doesn't make it this year, if L.C. Greenwood or Roger Craig don't get, they go away forever. They've been eligible for 20 years. They don't get in this year, they go away from, their name comes off the list. You don't become a candidate or remain a candidate forever. We saw with Kenny Riley didn't get in until he had already passed away posthumously. And other people, of course, got in. I'm not going to litigate that. I'm just saying, do you think it's fair for someone who was a great coach, but also cheated? Remember, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That was his slogan. That was his words, okay? And his actions backed it up. I would not have been happy I saw him go in ahead of Kenny Anderson. Kenny Anderson has been contributing to this game for far longer, okay? I'm not trying to compare him to Belichick because we don't need a comparison. Belichick never played in this league. Kenny Anderson did. This league and this Hall of Fame was created for the players. It's always been about the players. I've heard Pete Rozelle say that. I heard Paul Tagliabue say that. And I've heard the current commissioner, Roger Goodell, said that. It's about the players. Bill Belichick has no right to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame ahead of Kenny Anderson, Roger Craig, or L.C. Greenwood. So now I'm going to move on because there are other and bigger things to talk about, like Super Bowl 60. I'm excited about the Super Bowl. I get excited every year, even though my beloved Bengals will not be playing there. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But this year we have the Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. Remember the game when they played one another in Super Bowl 49? Remember Malcolm Butler came away with the game-winning interception against Russell Wilson? And Tom Brady was the MVP of that game. And he walked across the locker room after being named the MVP. And if you're the MVP of the Super Bowl, you get awarded a car, a Bronco or a Ford truck, which I would love to have, by the way. Tom Brady, being the gracious, wonderful young man that he is, he walks across the locker room. He goes to Malcolm Butler's locker and says, hey, man, you deserve this. Hands the keys to Malcolm Butler. You deserve this. You won us the game. He gave the car to Malcolm Butler. That's who Tom Brady is. Phenomenal guy, by the way. I've interviewed him, met him several occasions. Consummate team player. He's a servant leader. He puts his teammates above himself. And that is an example of it. And the only reason why I bring up that story, because this same Super Bowl reminds me of that Super Bowl. Defense rules the day. These two teams arguably are the best defenses in the NFL. I know Houston had a great defense. The Denver Broncos had a great defense, right? But Seattle, number one in the league. They allow the fewest points scored per game. Number one scoring defense in the NFL. And guess what? The Patriots have the fourth best scoring defense in the NFL, only giving up 18 points per game. Both teams are phenomenal. Did you know that the Patriots defense has only given up 2 touchdowns in their 3 postseason games against the Chargers, the Houston Texans, and against the Denver Broncos? They only gave up 2 touchdowns the entire postseason, And the Seattle Seahawks are the only team in the NFL during the regular season had 5 players on their defense who pressured the quarterback 40 or more times. That's right. When it comes to getting sacks on the quarterback, they rank 8th in the NFL. They finished with 47 sacks. Meanwhile, the Patriots would have 35 sacks. They rank 26th. They don't get pressure as much on the quarterback. But defense rules the day. Their 2 head coaches are defensive guys. That's right. Mike Vrabel can become the only person walking the planet who has ever won a Super Bowl as a player and the head coach of the same team, if he wins this Super Bowl with the New England Patriots, where he was with them as a player, won a Super Bowl. Now he's back as their head coach. No other player has ever won a Super Bowl as a player and then came back to win Super Bowl as a coach with the same franchise. Mike Vrabel has a chance to do that. Testament to his greatness, by the way. Ohio State product, by the way. That's right, is Mike Vrabel. The other guy teaches the same tenets, right? And Mike McDonald, he leads a phenomenal defense. I already gave you the data points on why this defense is so good. You know what he calls the defense? The dark side. I love that name, by the way, because it talks about the mindset of defensive players. You might see over my shoulder, that's from Super Bowl 23. That's Jerry Rice. He didn't score on the play, by the way. It was Fulcher 23 stay. I ended up hitting him, knocking him out of bounds. We stopped him on a goal line stance. That's why it was, 6-6 at halftime. They couldn't score. And last I checked, and when you play great defense, if they can't score, they can't win. That's why defense wins championships. And the best teams with the best defense normally wins. It's not the teams with the best quarterback. And that's why I want to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals for a little bit, because we've done some things that are right. I don't think we've done everything wrong, contrary to popular belief. Joe Burrow is what's right with this team. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is what's right with this team. Even Chase Brown is what's right with this team. The offensive line, they got better. Second half of the year, we're running the football. That's because we put Joe Burrow under center, but I'm going to tell that story another day. Joe, you got to get under center, man. If you want to help the O-line run the football, come on, man. Get under center a little bit more. Can you do that for us? But where's the defense, man? Can't win championships without defense. Can somebody tell our front office that? Oh, maybe they knew it, but forgot it. My bad. Okay, I'm going to give them credit for already knowing. Defense wins championship. I'm just saying it as a reminder because clearly we've forgotten it. We've forgotten it. Score 30 or more points in 8 games in 2024, you only win half of them. You score 30 or more points again, 8 games or more in 2025, you only go 4-4 again. Can you believe that? Can you? They went 5-3 this year in those games where they scored 30 or more points. I stand corrected. That's right. They're 9-7 when they score 30 or more points over the last 2 seasons. That's because the defense has got to show up. And that's what we can glean from this year's Super Bowl. In fact, you can go all the way back to the great Steeler dynasty of the 70s. You know why they won? You know why they won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s? Yeah, Terry Bradshaw was good. Yeah, you can get caught up in the Franco Harris stuff and the Lynn Swann stuff. No, it was about defense. It was about Mean Joe Green. It was about Mel Blount. It was about Jack Lambert and Jack Ham. It's about the defense. And oh, by the way, those 6 Super Bowl trophies that sit in the trophy case of the Pittsburgh Steelers, because nobody has more, by the way. Patriots can make it 7 if they win this Super Bowl. But nobody has more than the Steelers. All 3 of their coaches were defensive coaches. That's right. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. Defense wins championships. Go look at the Patriots. They're a 20-year dynasty. Bill Belichick was a defensive coach. Look at the Colts. Tony Dungy was a defensive coach. Helped build that team in Tampa and won the Super Bowl in 2002. And then, that's right, the Indianapolis Colts, what was it, 2007, I do believe? They win a Super Bowl. They had the great Peyton Manning. Couldn't win it until the defense started showing up. How about that? Quarterbacks need help. And Joe Burrow, I am feeling you, my man. I know you need help. Let's tell the front office, Joe Burrow needs help. Can you get him a defense, please? Because just like Tom Brady, sitting over there biting his nails when Malcolm Butler got that game-winning interception, Tom Brady needed help winning those Super Bowls. I remember Tom Brady winning a game. What was it, 10-3 against the Rams? 10-3? How many touchdowns did they score in that game? Gronk scored. That was it. Defense wins championship, even with the greatest quarterback in NFL history. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we can look at this year's Super Bowl, or we can look at these other champions, the great dynasty that were the Pittsburgh Steelers, even the undefeated Miami Dolphins. That's right. Coach Don Shula had the no-name defense, remember? That's right. That perfect team. It was about the defense. Go look at the stats for Brian Griese the year they won that Super Bowl and went 14-0, man. You're going to laugh. It was like, I could have, these numbers are, and look, I don't want to knock Bob Griese. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I like him. But you might have heard of a guy by the name of Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and Mercury Morris. You might have heard of that offensive line they had. They ran the football down people's throat. And all they did was play good defense on the other side of the ball. Perfect season. 1972, they won a Super Bowl. And I'm just here to tell you that we can become enamored with having a great quarterback, and we do. But we've had great quarterbacks here. I think Carson Palmer was one of the best, most talented quarterbacks the Bengals have ever had. Trust me. And I'm telling you that because I believe it. Boomer Esiason was the league MVP. Kenny Anderson was the league MVP. How many Super Bowls did they win? None. Now, it ain't because of the defense, because in 88, that defense was balling. Could have got more production outside of the Stanford Jennings touchdown that he scored on special teams. But that's a story for another day, too. My point to this is, if we can get Joe Burrow a defense, if we can get Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Zach Taylor a defense, you will not waste the talents of your quarterback. So next time when we're talking about how do you build a team, how do you win championships, look at the teams who are playing in the Super Bowl and say, that's what champions look like. Milton Williams. That's a name I want you to remember when you get ready to watch Super Bowl 60, when the Patriots and the Seahawks take the field. You know who Milton Williams is? He's the highest paid player in the history of the New England Patriots. And you might say, he's not worth $100 million. I guarantee you Bob Kraft isn't saying that. I guarantee you the Patriots aren't saying that, because you know what? He had a chance to sign with other teams on the free agent market. I'll tell you about Milton Williams. He dominated last year's Super Bowl playing for the Philadelphia Eagles on their defensive line. And you remember Pat Mahomes was running for his life. In fact, it was the worst game I ever saw Pat Mahomes play, because he was hit, hurried, and harassed. He was getting tagged. And Milton Williams and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, man, they were putting it on. But it was Milton Williams who led the show. And so when free agent market hit, he hit the market too. The Eagles say, we're not going to re-sign him. He had every offer you can name. He had a really nice offer from other teams. And you know what the Patriots did? They matched it. Matter of fact, they went above it to make him the highest paid Patriots player in team history. And you know what they're doing 1 year later? Going back. They're going to the Super Bowl. The only one's going back to the Super Bowl is Milton Williams. That's right. Milton Williams played and won a Super Bowl ring with the Philadelphia Eagles at this time last year on their star-studded defensive line. And he was the dude playing for Vic Fangio's defense. So Mike Vrabel says, go get me that dude. And Elliott Wolf, the general manager, the son of Hall of Famer Ron Wolf, went out and signed him. In fact, gave him more money than anyone else did in free agency. And I want you to know the Patriots spent more money in free agency than any other team this past offseason. So do you got to pay to win championships? Yes. Yeah, you got to pay, but you better pay the right people. Clearly, their front office is cooking with gas, right? Because they brought over Carlton Davis. They drafted Christian Gonzalez. They re-signed their nickel cornerback, Marcus Jones. They have a trio of corners that are phenomenal. That's right. Bought and paid for with Bob Kraft's money. Sometimes when you want to win a championship, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. Now, they do have a quarterback that's playing on a rookie contract in Drake May. And then they're going to have to pay him the $50 million. Let's see if they can still field the team. I know the Rams are. Remember, the Rams were in the same Super Bowl we were in 2021. Why are they still winning? Why are they still going to conference championship games years later? Right? Why are they? Oh, they got a defense. My bad. I'm sorry. Right? I stand corrected. But I'm just here to have that story, to talk about our Cincinnati Bengals, to tie them to what we're seeing in this year's Super Bowl. And how can we get back there? I do know this, that we are going to have to continue to value production over traits. You can't just say, oh, he's got great traits. No, he got to show production. Gone are the days are we valuing potential over production, traits over true talent. Talent produces, right? Talent produces. I don't want to hear, if there ain't no production next to that talent, next to that potential, I'm telling you, Cincinnati Bengals, move on to the next guy, okay? Everyone, I want to thank you for listening to my diatribe. I know I'm ranting and raving about Bill Belichick. I think he will get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He deserves to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But it's like anything else. If you're going to tell a man's story, tell us the whole story. Don't just tell us half-truths, right? Because anything less than the full truth is apocryphal. It is inaccurate, and it is not true. Thank you for joining us right here on the Believe in Bengal podcast presented by FanDuel. We'll see you after Super Bowl 60, everyone. Thank you.